Hey, what's up? Chris Martinez here, host of Operation Agency Freedom, and I am so pumped for this interview that I just did with Kasim Aslam. You've probably seen him on many stages. He's now running a mastermind group with Perry Belcher called Driven. I've known Kasim for, I don't know, probably like 5 or 6 years, and you're going to hear me talk about this on the show, but like, he was just kind of like one of the dudes, like just a really nice guy, very intelligent. And I would say most of all, just like kind, like great human being, which unfortunately can be a little bit rare in this industry. But over the past few years, man, this guy has blown up. So as you'll hear him say, it started out with him getting into the war room, actually getting gifted a membership to the war room. And then he developed relationships and really started to display his expertise in the field of Google Ads. And then it just kind of took off from there. What's most exciting about this episode specifically is that we're going to be talking about AI. And the reason I bring this up is because Kasim and I both share a similar vision as to where agencies are headed. His vision drove him to do an exit with his agency, where he got a very nice multiple, and he sold to a private equity group that is invested in AI technology, specifically AI ads technology as well. He's going to be talking all about AI and the implications that it's going to have on the industry as a whole, what he saw, where he saw that he needed to exit right now, and why it was such a good time to take the money and run. And then also he's going to be talking about what he's doing now and how you can learn from him. So if you're interested in AI, which I hope that you are, because this is the future, and actually it's not even the future, it's the present. But hopefully you're interested in this. Please pay attention, take a lot of notes. And if you like what you hear, put some comments in there. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast, because we're going to have lots of great interviews just like this one. But with that being said, let's jump into this episode with Kasim Aslam. Awesome. I'm so excited, guys. I have got Kasim here. This dude is a legend. I don't want to say he came out of nowhere, but man, you've exploded over the past, I would say, 4 years.
It feels like so much longer than that, but I appreciate you, Chris. Thank you, brother.
Well, at least for me, like as soon as you started hosting the traffic and conversion,
Yeah.
then maybe it was just because I noticed you everywhere, but I kind of felt like your presence in the digital marketing world really, it just went from, we know who he is to now I'm seeing this dude everywhere.
Now, it was an overnight success. It just took me 20 years. Like it was a 20-year night.
I've heard that a lot, actually. the saying. So definitely, I think it applies to you. And now you're doing the mastermind with Perry.
Yep.
And is there anybody else who's involved with that?
It's me, Perry Belcher, Jason Fladlin.
Okay, awesome. So you're traveling all over the world and being on the stage and all that good stuff.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I hate to sound so cliche, but like, what a blessing. It's just an unbelievable place to be in. I remember War Room when I was a young entrepreneur was just this, it was this impossible goal. And I was so desperate and eager to be in it. And then I was actually gifted my War Room membership by a really close friend, Calvin Corelli. We were walking through TNC one year, and I was like, bro, I'd do anything to be in there. And Calvin's like, why don't you just join? Like, you join right now. I was like, no, I can't. I'm not ready. I'm not worthy. I'm not. Blah, blah. And then I forgot all about it. And it was a year or two later, I get a phone call from Calvin, and we hadn't spoken in a while. And he goes, hey, I bought in a War Room. My COO or whatever had negotiated an extra seat because War Room was kind of, they would do little deals.
Yeah.
And he gave me the seat. And so like all of a sudden I'm in this room that I don't belong in. I'm the dumbest, poorest human, that's the room to be in, by the way.
Exactly.
Go get into the room where you are the
dumbest,
poorest, least motivated, least successful. And man, that was the beginning of so many things for me. And it was through that opportunity I won Wicked Smart, which is a competition they host every event. I won it more times than anybody in a row. I won 5 times in a row, and Perry saw that. And because I put myself out there a little bit, he called me when War Room sunset, and he goes, dude, I'm not done. Do you want to be my partner in this new mastermind? So, You know, not I'm the old graybeard now, and I can tell all the young bucks, put yourself in rooms that are uncomfortable, and then do things that are uncomfortable whilst in those rooms. You know, I mean, Wicked Smart's an uncomfortable thing. It's everybody in the room submits an idea. You have 5 minutes to present. They shortlist it, you know, and then they vote. Like, it's a really vulnerable position to be in. But had I not done that, I wouldn't have, like, you know, raised my hand and been seen by Perry. I've learned more from Perry Belcher in the last year working with him than I think I have from almost any other human I've ever worked with. He's a mountain, and he's brilliant, and he's, you know, he's kind of got this. He plays himself off as like a dumb redneck that, you know, oh, I'm just figuring it out, and it's like, no,
Yeah,
dude,
exactly.
he's clinically just genius, and
Yeah.
it's cool to be able to work with somebody like that.
That's awesome. I definitely want to talk about the mastermind and what you're doing with Perry. Let's start though talking about Solutions 8, because we were messaging on the Facebooks about kind of the future of agencies, and I want to get your take. I think that, well, I foresee that there's going to be massive changes happening in the industry altogether. That's going to leave a lot of carnage on the streets. But so you had Solutions 8, which was mainly focusing on Google ads, I believe, and you also did some YouTube ads.
100% just Google. Well, yeah,
Google
YouTube
ads.
lives under the umbrella of Google for
Right.
those of us in the Google sphere. So, but we were solely dedicated to Google at the end. We built what had to have been, if not the largest, one of the largest Google focused agencies in the world. We had $100 million in ad spend under management. I had 200
Wow.
clients, 100 employees. So we got, as far as agencies go, we got really big.
Yeah.
And then we sold in October of 2022.
Oh, it's been a
year and a month.
a year. Wow.
Yeah.
And you're still under NDA? So there's something,
Oh,
obviously
yeah.
some things that I can't ask you about. Can I ask you about who you sold to? Was it private equity or another agency? Can I ask you
it was a private equity backed MarTech company that owns a bunch of AI software, and they wanted agencies as a sandbox. And I'm still the CEO of Solutions 8. I still work, you know, very closely with the team. I have a meeting with the team right after this. So I'm still involved, but I don't, you know, my name's not on the door anymore. I don't own it. I'm just an employee, which is weird to say.
Yeah. How many years did you put in at Solutions 8 before the exit last year?
So hard question to answer, dude, because, and you know, this as an entrepreneur, there were so many evolutions.
Yeah.
So like the Solutions 8 LLC, I think, was filed in 2011.
Okay.
But it was born from another company that merged with, you know what I mean? So like I've been
similar story with us too. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it's like just all these sort of cobbled together Frankensteins of organization. I started doing custom software development, and then that segued into web design, and that segued into SEO and marketing. So I've just failed at everything. I'm just the biggest failure. I like to say I'm the greatest failure who's ever lived. Like, I'm so good, Chris, at failing.
I think I'm second place.
I do it with style, and you know, and I never half-ass it. I always fail all the way, and I do so publicly, just to make sure that I'll never forget. And Solutions 8 was just failing forward, and it wasn't even my idea, man. It was my business. I brought in a business partner towards the end, and he was the one who was like, dude, the only thing that's making any money on a scalable way is Google ads. Why don't we just niche down into Google ads?
Right.
And I'm, you know, the asshole was like, no, absolutely not. That's a stupid idea. Like,
do everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And he ended up winning out, and I'm glad he did, because, you know, you got to cash a great big check. So
yeah, that's awesome. So, you know, like, when you made that decision to sell, was there a catalyst for that, or did you
I had 50 unsolicited offers. 50.
Unsolicited.
Unsolicited.
And it was just, because I know people that get a lot of offers, right? We have a client that turned down a huge offer last year. And sometimes you're just not ready to sell, and sometimes you're just tired, right? And you're ready to go. And there's other motivations as well. What was kind of the, let's just say, you know, top 2 motivations for you to want to do the exit?
I'm going to say something that's going to get a little weird, and I hope anybody who doesn't align themselves with where I'm going with this, just forgive me, and I'll be quick, and then we'll move on.
No,
I had decided to exit. I talked to my business mentor about it, and I said, okay, I think I'm ready to sell. I actually wanted to sell pre-COVID. COVID happened. We thought there's no way we can sell now, and instantly it tripled the size of my business, which I didn't know it was going to do. So that was pretty cool. But I had decided I wanted to sell, and we were preparing to sell. And all of a sudden, dude, I put out into the universe. I know that that's like esoteric and whatever, but I was like aligned with the frequency of exit. And then next thing I know, within 60 days of him and I going through my books and preparing, like, you know, making sure that we're gap accounting and all the agreements or whatever in place, I start getting these unsolicited offers. So that was one, is the minute you really decide and you've kind of aligned yourself with a direction and you commit to it, it's weird. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be metaphysical, right? It could just be the fact that you're now primed for that. But
Mhm.
it's weird how many things came into place to conspire in order to assist me there. And I didn't take the biggest or best offer, financially speaking. When you're going for an exit, more important than price are terms.
Yeah.
And the terms are critical. I wanted somebody who wasn't going to take a hatchet to my team.
Hmm.
I wanted somebody that wasn't going to, like, completely dismantle everything that we built or ruin my clients, ruin our accounts. And the guys that bought us wanted us for us.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't a chop shop. And so it just ended up working out really well. And I'm super grateful. And to be frank, to the point that you and I were having on Messenger the other day, I knew on a long enough timeline, big agencies are dead.
Yeah.
But I knew I had 5 years, right? So, but the issue is I've only ever lost money in the market. And it's because I always try to time the market. So while the big agency probably had 5 years, I didn't need to sell in 5 years. I needed to sell before other people started to see what I saw.
Yes,
And was that going
exactly.
to happen in 4 years, 3 years? So in part of me, and dude, I could have got way more money. I talked to a gentleman named Ruben Hendel. If anybody's ever interested in an agency exit, Ruben Hendel is the managing partner over at Madison Alley, largest
Hmm.
M&A firm for agencies. They only deal with you if you're at $5 million EBITDA. I wasn't, but I was close.
Hmm.
And Ruben's like, dude, I sold for a multiple that's a single figure multiple. Ruben goes, dude, if you can get to 5 million EBITDA, I can get you 13x. He could have got me
For an
many,
agency.
many, many,
Wow, that's
bro, nuts,
that's
right?
impressive. Yeah.
And that was, at the time. The market shifted now, so who knows what the truth is. But uh I left so much money on the table, but it's because I knew I didn't have the time horizon. And so again, if anybody's asking for advice, unless you're already financially completely, what would you say, free, if you have a good shot at a forever number, an amount of money that will satiate you for the rest of your life, even if it's, Hyundais and track homes, like, take that and then have your nest egg. And then your second at bat,
Do
you
the
can
next
wait for
thing.
the big,
Yeah.
big, big hit,
Right. Right.
but like, I'm super happy with my decision and glad I did the way that I did it.
It's interesting to me that you sold to an AI backed private equity firm, right? Or they have you said they have investments in other AI technology or something like that.
They have AI driven governance, which is ad management, which is what we
Okay.
do.
Yeah.
Creative targeting. I think they're working on attribution. Like, they're building. They've raised, and this is all public. They've raised hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're brilliant. It started by these three. They're kids. They're these three kids that went to
Hmm.
the Indian equivalent of MIT,
Hmm.
and they created this software that, like, just really exploded, and they caught a bunch of people's attention. And the company's called Pixis. They're based out of
Fixes.
Silicon Valley now, and it's really interesting to see. It's actually humbling because I thought I was doing okay, and then I see
Hmm.
these two young men and this young woman, and they're 10 years younger than me, and there's a place for them from an anthropological perspective. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're doing things that are really going to change the world, and I just
Yeah.
built my little Google Ads agency.
Well, when you say they're doing things that are going to change the world, the way that I'm anticipating where the agency space is going is that a lot of the human labor will be replaced by AI technology. So, and the humans that are left, they'll be able to do the work of 10 with the software that we have that's a fraction of the cost of even one person.
Dude,
Is
man, they
that
do
kind
the
of like
work of
what they're,
100
what's that?
or they could do the work of 100 or 1,000. Like, the scale is so disproportionately applied. It's staggering. It's impossible to really to quantify the scope.
So we see it now, like the early days, we see it now with copywriting, right? Like I know a
The
guy
graphic
who
design,
graphic
video
design is
editing,
coming,
yeah,
video editing, like
transcription,
we use Opus Pro and Descript to now edit
yeah,
our own videos. I mean, I anticipate that we won't even need to edit the videos soon. It'll just
no,
be automatically built into the software. And even now with the people that have zero video editing experience, they can edit a video in minutes as
right.
opposed to sending it off to somebody who's got to open up Premiere and like go in and do all the stuff. It's so fast. Do you anticipate that ads will essentially be,
Oh, it's already done.
so they're doing it.
Oh, it's already done. Well,
Yeah.
here's what's crazy is it's actually not an intermediary application. Google has done it internally. Facebook's done it internally.
Okay.
For better or worse, there's campaign types. I don't know what they're called in Facebook because I don't run Facebook ads, but like Google Performance Max
Mhm.
is the most popular and most important. And you don't get to run the campaigns yourself.
You
They're
just
not
say,
built
this
that
is
way.
what I want, and then they run the ads. They
Here are
do
my
everything.
assets. Here's the audience. Here's the goal. And then Google builds the campaigns for better or worse. Again, like I actually, in a lot of ways, manual intervention was better. We had clients that performed better without those, but Google's taking it away from you.
Mhm.
And there was one of the reasons that I sold. We had one client in particular, and this was an exception, but it's not going to be for long. We hadn't made a change in his account for 7 months. And I kept talking to the guy. I'm like, dude, I'm just watching this. And we'd done some feed optimizations and some on-site stuff. So it wasn't like we were doing nothing.
Mhm.
We were doing pretty close to nothing. And he was a smart guy, brilliant entrepreneur. And he goes, it's okay. You're worth what I'm paying you to monitor it. But in my mind, I'm like, how long will that be true? And so we were moving into a position where the internal optimization of the Google AI, because it's AI driven
Right.
marketing inside it. Everybody's like, oh my God, AI is so new. No, it's not.
It's not
Google
new.
search is AI, right? If you ever had a Google search result, that's AI delivered.
Siri
But
as well, like,
oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I mean, we've been playing with AI for quite some time. It was just ChatGPT gave us an interface that all of a sudden really made people more connected to it than they've ever been. But we're moving into a place to where your traditional media buyer, the analogy I give everybody is media buying used to be driving a Formula One race car. You're
mhm.
flying down the road, 200 miles an hour. You're in control. You've got the wheel, the pedals, your shit. Like you are making those decisions, micro decisions, hundreds in a minute.
Mhm.
It's now interstellar space travel at the speed of light. You don't get to drive the spaceship at the speed of light. You program the machine. You're saying, here's where I am. Here's where I'm going. Here are the parameters with which you can get me there. And then
Yeah.
you monitor and make sure shit doesn't break.
I use the
But
same analogy. You can see I'm a Star Wars fan.
yeah.
So you plug the coordinates into the Nava computer, and then you just go, right?
And then you just go. But the thing there is if I had 100 employees and 200 accounts, that's, if you think about that math, that is human heavy, labor heavy. Now we were infrastructure heavy, but that was by design too.
Mhm.
Man, if you give it 18 months, Chris, maybe not even that long, I think you could have 200 accounts and 5 employees, 5 really good ones.
Yeah.
And there's this weird narrative where people are like, oh, new industries will be creative and don't worry, we're always going to need humans. And I actually believe that to be true. But, we've seen infrastructure collapse before in look what happened to the automotive industry. Go to Detroit, go drive through, the Rust Belt and
Mhm.
tell me that it looks like Mad Max. It was apocalyptic. Now, did people find employment ultimately and whatever? Yeah, but there was this epoch of immense pain,
Yeah.
and I don't think we should ignore that. I think that we should be very cognizant of the fact that this is going to cause some discord. And there are people and that was the thing, dude, is I was sitting on the planet the meteor was headed towards. Like we were a media agency that didn't do creative. I refused.
Yeah.
We didn't do creative. We didn't do landing page development. We didn't do copy creation. We didn't do any of the things that actually would have protected me from AI. I did a thing that was so easily commoditizable that the minute I had an out, I was like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
the question I have to ask everybody who's listening is be honest about whether or not that's you too.
Mhm.
Be real, because it's not going to help you to ostrich here. Ostrich they plant their head in the
Plant
ground.
their head in the sand. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the right bird.
Now's not the time. Now's the time. Don't get romantic about how important what you're doing is. Get real clear and real pragmatic real quick.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. From our side at Dude, I started out doing outsourcing for design and development.
Yep.
And same thing, we saw that this is not going to be sustainable in the future. A lot of the people that we're supplying, AI is going to take their jobs, for lack of a better term, as well as anybody that you need to find in other countries. It's much easier than it was even 5 years ago.
Right.
3 years ago, it's much easier. So that's where we've kind of shifted on into the consulting area and actually learning from people like yourself, as well as just experimenting with everything and figuring out ways that we can help these agencies get ahead of this big AI evolution that's coming, so that we can implement technology and help them survive. But it's true that a lot of people are not going to make it through this next evolution. Next, no, there's not a lot of agencies that are going to make it through this next evolution, but
Not big ones. I have a lot of hope for the small 1 or 2 partner agency. You know, they've got 10, 20, 30 clients, and they're super nimble, and they do a lot. And I used to be against this. I told everybody, niche down, niche down, niche down. I didn't make any real money until I niched down. The problem with niching down now, though, is you niche down so far that a bot can do your job.
yes,
And so there's a, you want to zoom out and still choose a niche, but choose a niche that allows you to cross pollinate beyond wherever the iron curtain of the bot ends and begins. So for instance, if I had run something as simple as I only ran Google ads, if I ran Google and Facebook, the benefit there is there's no AI technology that talks to both yet because they hate each other.
Yeah.
And so just the attribution discussion of, I sold 10 things today and Google says I sold 8 of them and Facebook says I sold 8 of them and they're both right. So now you need somebody who can look at that and kind of figure out where the truth is. That would have bought me a year or two, and so on and so forth. And so there's a need to add a layer of complexity from a human intervention standpoint. And I think the 1 or 2 person agency, after my little doom and gloom speech, I actually think there's going to be an insane amount of opportunity. AI arbitrage, AI implementation, AI management, like for the people that really figure that out and crack that code, man, I think there's a chance here to mint money.
This is where we might disagree a little bit. And I'm not saying that you're wrong because nobody knows the future, but I think that the larger agencies, specifically the agency owners that are a little bit more sophisticated, I think they're going to see the writing on the wall and they're going to basically condense. And those will be the ones that'll that have the best chance of survival. If an agency has been a 1-person shop forever, I think I think that they don't have the data points to recognize when they're in trouble, and I think that they'll be gobbled alive.
You at all.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is the agency of the future. So if you and I were buddies at a pub, and you're like, hey, my nephew wants to start a business. If you've had a 1 or 2 person agency for the last 3 or 4 years, you're probably screwed because all the things that you're doing are AI-able.
Yes.
But if you're going to start a business, I wouldn't go get private equity money or an SBA loan to start a big agency. I'd say from right here today, start the solo or duo agency, but then you start it with different lines of service that are AI driven and AI backed.
Yes.
And so those small agencies are 2 very different entities. They're entirely different animals in different bullpens.
Yep. I agree with you 100%. To me, it's like, I know we love using analogies on the show, but it's like, you have the person who's using a slingshot or you can start a business and now you can use the machine gun and basically do the work of 100 people.
Right.
To use a very morbid analogy. Anyways, so I know you have, and we only have a few more minutes because I know you got another meeting coming up. I do want to touch upon what you're doing with Driven in the mastermind, because from what I hear, and I apologize for never coming to an event, I will one day. I hear that there is a lot of talk of how we can leverage this technology to build a business that is sustainable in the future. How are you tying that in with Driven?
Well, the benefit I have is my business partner is probably the world authority in AI right now. Perry owns the AI Bot Summit. He partnered with this gal, Elena Liu, who is, she's one of those people that's so smart you feel bad for her.
Like, what's her background? Is she computer engineer?
Well, she's some sort of like triple PhD engineer. But I don't know specifically, but she did this presentation. Actually, she did a Wicked Smart presentation. And when she was done, she had like all these charts and graphs, and she was trying to dumb down like relational databases or whatever. When she was done, all of us were looking around, and there's a room of 100 people, and there wasn't one of us. There was one that I know of. That like, dude, she was 3 standard deviations higher than any of us from an intellectual perspective, and that was her trying to bring it down to earth.
Yeah.
So like Perry's bringing these people, and the cool thing about Elena is, while you don't know how she's doing what she's doing, the end result is so accessible. She's building, she's effectively building chatbots. But she's building these AI-driven chatbots in really brilliant ways using repositories of content that you might have a decade of. And so like all your email history, all your support ticket history, all your YouTube channel, all your Slack, all whatever. And she's drawing from these, and she's building rule engines about what information to use, what information not to use, what timeline information atrophies. So she's really thought through the value of content. And then you can basically just talk to any repository of data that you have in really cool ways. And it's stuff like that. Dude, Perry, there's no human I've ever known in my entire life that can skate to where the puck is going better and more effectively than him. And the guy's like, I don't know what, 50 some odd years old. He's been relevant for 20 years. And he's always, I remember he did a talk at TNC on AI driven content in 2019.
Really?
Dude, right?
I
And
was
it's
there. I
recorded. You
didn't
can
even
go check it.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it. And I remember even thinking like, this is so pie in the sky. But what I love about Perry is everybody else, most other educators are teaching what they're learning. Perry's teaching what he's doing. He's
Hmm.
actually building these businesses. So Driven's not about AI per se. It's a marketing mastermind really, but there's a
Right.
huge AI component because we have Perry and because he has so much insight.
Very, very interesting. Like I have a buddy that I do jujitsu with, and he's a software engineer and specifically in AI. And now he's working for a company that is essentially going to replace customer service people altogether.
Yep.
So they recently sponsored, or they partnered with it's like a big race or something. I don't know if it was F1, but it was essentially an event where you run an ad on Craigslist for 100 temporary workers, right? So these people show up and you have minutes to train them, right? And these are knuckleheads that don't have a job. Like they're college students like we all were. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll take $100 for the day. So you have minutes to train them. There's 100,000 attendees. And so what my buddy's software company did is they basically built an AI software where you can literally just upload all of your written SOPs. It uploads into an app. All the employees download the app. And now when somebody comes up to them and says, hey, how do I get here? Or how do I do this? They just plug it into the app and then they tell the person in front of them, hey, this is what you do.
That's
Right?
brilliant.
Now, the next evolution of that is that there is going to be no temporary worker. You, the
Right.
attendee, will just download the app and you will be able to get all your answers as if you're texting or talking to a live human.
Right.
And what the craziest part about all of this is that their AI looks at the SOPs that you've uploaded and it will automatically start to improve upon those SOPs.
Yeah, it's iterative.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's improving upon them better than a human would and faster than a human would, which is insane. So
Oh,
like
it's
when you think about
terrifying.
that, I love it personally. Like I get excited about this because when you look at it, we do process mapping for our clients, right? And so one of the things that we'll do is we'll look at all these different like breakpoints of like, where is stuff blowing up? Like where is it falling off the wheels? And then we can go in and fix that manually, right? We can come up with a new SOP, a new onboarding process, whatever. But now the AI will be able to do that and it'll be beneficial to the clients. The business will be much more efficient and you won't have to wait as long. Like you won't have to lose 10 clients before you go in and recognize, oh shit, I got a problem here. I think it's going to be awesome, man.
No, I'm excited, but also, cautious because I have an acute awareness of the sensitivity of market. I've been on the receiving end of that.
Yeah.
And so I just know that there's going to be such a shakeup.
It is.
And it just is what it is, And I wouldn't give a shit if it weren't in an industry that I'd grown up in. I spent 20 years basically in the agency world. If we were talking about whatever HVAC right now, and somebody's like, "Oh my God, the HVAC industry is changing," I'd be like, "I don't care." I mean, I care about those people. God bless them. But this is just
you
it's so close to
remember
home.
back in the day before Expedia and before Kayak, and like if you wanted to go buy a plane ticket,
you had to go through a travel agent, and
yeah, you went through a
right?
travel agent. Or I remember in the mall that was in my city, they had an area and they had United and Delta and
Right.
American, and they all had little booths. And to get pricing, you would literally walk from one booth and then you would go to the next one, and you would ask them how much does it cost for a flight from LAX to New York. That's
Yeah,
how
and
you
it was
had to
only
do
good
it.
for 6 hours, and like you'd come back
Exactly.
later.
It was nuts. And they give you a printed ticket and you couldn't lose it. And then Expedia came out, and then
Dude, we're
it's all
so
over.
old.
I know. We sound like back in my day. And everything changed, right? And all those travel agents, hundreds of thousands of them probably across the world, lost their jobs.
They all became realtors.
Exactly. Oh my God, can we get AI to fix that process? We just bought a house, so like I'm completely familiar with it. But the point being is that there is a light at the tunnel for everybody, even those that are going to lose their jobs, so to speak.
Right. On a long
There
enough
is a future.
timeline, AI, I'm only optimistic about it. I think it improves every level of analysis for humanity across the board.
Mhm.
And I really mean that. I think it solves quite literally everything: supply chain issues, hunger, power, warming. Like there's nothing that AI doesn't improve. I love Sam Altman. I'm glad he was reinstated. Like
Yeah, I saw that today.
I'm a huge believer, and I'm so hopeful and I'm so excited. But in the short term, the shift is going to feel like an earthquake, and some
Yeah.
people are going to get hurt. And I just want to make sure that if we can mitigate risk, we do.
Yeah. Well, Got good people like you who can help make that happen. You got to get out of here. What's the best way that people can get a hold of you or keep in touch with your content and all that good stuff?
You can follow me on all socials at Kasim Aslam, and appreciate you having me on, buddy. I've always
You're
been a
the
big
man.
Chris Martinez fan.
Yeah, I want to have you on again. So
Yeah, let's do
we'll
it.
try and make that happen. Hey, thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much to me if you would subscribe to the podcast and also share it with friends, family, and basically anyone you know who will find the same value in this episode as you do. So, to get the latest from me, then let's connect on social media on the Facebooks at facebook.com/dude agency or Instagram at dudeagency.io. Then you can also find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and even TikTok. Yes, I'm that cool. We are on TikTok. Finally, go to our website at dudeagency.io, where you can see all of our other episodes of Operation Agency Freedom. Register for live trainings on how to run a highly profitable agency, and you can see exactly how we help marketing agencies fix their operations and scale to 8 figures and beyond. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you next time.